In this video, I will show you how to create new planes in SolidWorks. We will go over all the steps you need to take in order to create planes, but it won't stop there. After that, I will tell you when you should create new planes, because a lot of you are here for the wrong reasons. You're here to learn how to create new planes because you think you have to, while you actually don't. So I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that you know why you need to create them and teach you the how first. And once I did that, I'm gonna tell you when you should do it and when not. So stay tuned and make sure to watch this video to the end. Let's get to the point. By the way, guys, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel because you're about to learn a lot of new cool stuff. First, I want to show you where to find the menu to create new planes. There are 3 ways to reach at it, and the third way is my recommended way because it's the fastest way. But I'm going to show you the traditional ways as well. One would be to go to Insert, Reference Geometry, and find Plane. Then you get the menu. Second way would be to go to the Features tab, find Reference Geometry, and then click on Plane, same menu. Or 3, you could click on one of the existing planes that you have. On default, you have at least 3. Then hold Control on your keyboard and then click on that plane. Then it would jump to the same menu again. If you do that, the selected plane will be added as one of the references already into the calculations. If you don't want that, you can just press delete and get the same default menu. All right, speaking of the menu, what is the menu and the options that you get on the plane? As you can see, you see nothing more than 3 references. Reference 1 in blue, 2 in pink, and 3 in purple. And you need maximum 3 references to define a new plane and minimum 1. When is it 1? When is it 3? We'll get to that. And I want to start by telling you what kind of reference you can select here. Technically, you can select almost anything. A plane, sketch, edge, corner, surface, whether it's flat or cylindrical or anything else, can be selected as a reference. Even axis can be selected. Center of circles can be selected as references. So your hands are not tied here and you could be creative. So let's just start by selecting this surface over here. Immediately, that message that was in yellow turned into green, which reads fully defined. Just like a sketch, your plane has fully defined, underdefined, and overdefined status. And by selecting this flat surface on the top of our part, we turned the message from underdefined, which was in yellow, into fully defined, which is in green. Now, why is it in green? Because a flat surface on its own is enough to fully define a plane that sits on it perfectly. But it's a stupid move because it's like wearing a hat on top of a hat. If you're here for that reason, you are here for the wrong reasons, so stay tuned until the end of the video. I have some message for you. Good. Immediately after selecting my first reference, I see that the menu, the property manager for planes, is a bit different, and I get some options here that I don't on the second and the third reference. What is that for? It's because my first reference is selected already, and for that, I get some options based on my selection to create a different plane, to adjust and play and manipulate the type of plane we are creating here. For example, currently it's set on offset and the offset distance is as 0. If I change this, you will see that I can create a plane at an offset distance of 40 millimeters, for example, in relation to this selected surface. And when I click OK, I create a new plane. But then again, guys, if you're here to do this, you're here for the wrong reasons. Stay tuned. I'm going to delete this plane, go back to the plane menu one more time. We're going to repeat that as many times as necessary until it becomes second nature to you. Again, I'm going to select the same surface, but I'm going to play with the options a little bit here. Let's just start from the top. Parallel. If I select parallel, unlike offset, it's not enough to fully define a new plane, because when I select offset, it is fully defined, as you can see here, but parallel, it needs a second or potentially a third reference. So we need to move on to the second field. Okay, we want a plane that is parallel to the selection, but okay, what else? The parallel plane could be at any distance. you need to select a vertex, a point, a sketch, so it can be parallel at that point. If I select the midpoint on this circle, then you can see my plane is fully defined. It is my second reference, and the first reference is this. So let's read what we are looking at here. We have selection 1 in blue, and it is parallel to that. We have selection 2 or reference 2, and it is a point and is coincident to that point. So we are creating a plane that is parallel to the first selection and is coincident to the second selection. That makes it fully defined. Good. We can click OK and continue from this point on. Let's delete this and do it another way. Reference geometry plane. Select the same surface again. Perpendicular. All right, just like parallel, it needs potentially a second and maybe a third reference. Okay, we want a plane that is perpendicular to the selection, but since the options are unlimited, we need to give more references to it. What can we give here? Let's just say I want it to be passing through this line as well, and it immediately went to the overdefined, perpendicular to the plane. Okay, coincident. It's not doing any good. It's not doing any justice. So it cannot be selected. I just overdefined the message. A point can be selected, sure. And let's just select a second point. Yeah. All right. At this level, we have created a new plane. The looks of it is out of proportion, but a plane is a plane. Doesn't matter how it is represented in SolidWorks. We can always drag and drop its sizes, so it's not an issue. We have the first reference, the surface. We have the second reference, this vertex, this point, and we have the third one. And the second and the third references are coincident to the new plane, and the first reference is perpendicular to it. So when I click OK, don't worry about that. I said you can do it like this, and then you have created a new plane that passes through these 2 points and is perpendicular to the first selection. Okay, let's delete it one more time and do it again. We go to plane and we select the same surface. This time we want to do it at an angle. How do we create a new plane at an angle to the first selection? Well, just like anything else in SolidWorks, we need an axis of rotation. An axis of rotation can be a straight line, whether it's a sketch or it's an edge on side of your component. Since I don't have any sketches here, I'm gonna select this flat line or edge on side of my component. Now the new plane can be created at an angle to the first selection, coincident to this edge. At the same time, I can increase the number of new planes. So if I'm gonna create it at 30 degrees, I can create as many planes as I want, like that. They are at 30 degrees to the first selection, and from then on to the next plane, 30 degrees to the second, 30 degrees to the third, and you get the point. Also, we can always flip the directions, but at 30 degrees we don't notice it. Maybe at 55 you'll see the difference, something that is not dividable by 360. Good. So that was at an angle, and immediately from here I'm gonna delete the first reference and the second reference, and this time we're gonna talk about the midplane option. Midplane option is very helpful when you need a plane exactly sandwiched between 2 other surfaces, 2 other planes, 1 plane and 1 surface, any combination of those. Okay, so if I select this surface and this one, the midplane option will be activated, as you can see, for the first and the second reference, and I get a plane that cuts my cylinder exactly in half. It sits between my 2 selections, and that's the midplane option. The midplane option also applies, let me just delete that, can also be applied to a plane at an angle. If I select this surface and this surface, the midplane option can be applied here, and it would give us the 45-degree angle between these 2. And it's very useful when we are changing some stuff. When we are changing our component, we want the plane to be at that half distance at all times. So this time I'm gonna create something very quick. Let's say we have this, and we want to create a plane that is sits exactly between this selection and this selection. So reference geometry planes, first selection, second selection. When we get that, click OK. Now look what happens when I change the height. What happens to the new plane? It adjusts itself because it's kind of smart. Look at that. It's moving down. It's always at half distance. You see that? We don't need to go back and recreate the new plane when it's sitting at the midplane. Okay, that was that. There are other options. We are not finished. We are still at the how, because there are different combinations that you must learn. You could select a cylindrical surface and you could select a line, for example. Now, our first reference is a cylindrical surface and the second reference is this edge. Now, if I flip my offset, it can be tangential on both sides of the cylindrical surface and it still passes through that edge, as you can see here. So this is another combination. Also, let's do one more thing. If I open this menu and select right plane, that's my whatever second reference, and for the first reference I select this cylindrical edge, I can set it at an angle and change the angle. Look at that. Try to think about the logic that is happening here. I'm changing the angle of the to be defined new plane in relation to the second reference, which is our right plane. So it's 37 degrees this to the right plane, and it is tangential to the blue selection, which is the first reference, right? I can have it fully defined and change the angle. If I'm going to delete that again and create another situation for you, first selection, second selection, look at that. This side and this cylindrical surface at an angle, I can even flip it. Do you see that? 45. Now, we have a plane that is 45 degrees to our first selection because angle is activated under first reference and is tangential to the second reference. If I want it like that, I can do it as well. Let's create, or let's proceed. Reference geometry planes. Now, sometimes you want to define a new plane based on some, I don't know, points. I want a plane that goes through this point, through this point, and maybe something down here through this point. Now look at that. 3 points. Any 3 points can also fully define a new plane for you. You could select 1 point and 1 line, or 3 points, or yeah, 1 surface. Okay, anything else? At this point, that was the how to create new planes. And if you learned something out of it, go ahead and smash that like button now. Because from this point on, I'm not going to talk about how to create new planes. I'm going to talk about when and when not to create new planes. Because as I said, a lot of you, probably you, including yourself, are here for the wrong reasons. Let me tell you why. Okay, so let's just say you want to create this effect. You want to just cut a ring around this shaft, and since this shaft is not selected on any type of default planes that we have, you cannot go for revolve. So your solution, your idea is to go ahead and create a new plane at this distance. By the way, this was another method to create a new plane, I forgot to tell you. Place it somewhere around here, click OK, go ahead, activate and sketch on it. Even if you work as fast as I do, it still takes longer. You want to create something like that, assign the dimensions, I don't know, whatever it is, and then go to the features tab, go work with extrude, and then change the direction, set the right value, I don't know, and then click OK and create that ring effect. Yes, you can do that, but what you just did, including creating that plane, is absolutely unnecessary. Why? Because for a lot of cases that you are going to create a parallel plane or a plane at an offset, you can use the surface that you already have, or the plane that you already have, at the wrong position, but still parallel, and work with the parameters in your feature, in your extrusion feature. Let me show you. If I wanted to create that effect, that what I just did on this shaft, without creating the new plane, I can just go ahead, do what I wanted to do anyway, that is drawing that circle with the right dimension. I don't remember the right dimension, but I did, and leave it at that. Go ahead and just do the extrude as if I don't need any new plane, because the distance from here to here can be defined another way as well, and that is the from section of extrude cut and extrude bus. If I change the from plane, which on default is set to sketch plane, to offset, I can just move this down as much as I can, maybe at 15 or whatever it was at 10, and then I can click OK. I just did the exact same process, created the exact same outcome without creating, or without having to create a new plane. Okay? If the reason you want to create a new plane is to do something like this, if you want to create a hole somewhere along the line, you can skip that by just playing with the from section of your extrude. There are other examples as well. A lot of times people, or beginners mostly in SolidWorks, don't know that any flat surface, truly flat surface in SolidWorks can be used as a just like a plane for a 2D sketch. Like this one. If I select that, there is a pop-up menu, then I see the sketch option, not the one above it, which is edit sketch. We are not after that, we are after sketch. When I click that, I can immediately go ahead and draw on top of that surface, and I don't really need to create a new plane. Even if I wanted to extrude this in a higher level and not connected to this surface, I can again go to offset and just do it. Look at that. Without having to create a plane at this level, I just changed it and clicked OK. Look at that. No plane needed, but yet the outcome is there. Delete and delete. One more thing about this subject. If I click on any non-flat surface, I don't get sketch option, just like this one. I get it on the flat one. I don't get it on non-flat ones. One other example that I have made for you, look at the situation here. We have the green part and we have two gray parts, and on purpose I have changed the front and back surfaces on the gray parts so they're not flat, and therefore they cannot be used as canvases for our 2D sketch. So that's that. We cannot use any flat surface, and we have the right plane here. Let's just make it shown. We have the right plane behind the green tower or the cylinder surface, and we have one sketch on it, which is this circle. Now let me tell you the objective. We want to extrude cut this circle through the green tower, so the green tower has to be affected and we need the hole inside that. The second component, this one, should not be touched at all, and the third one needs to have the hole inside. Let me show you. If I go to extrude cut and select this and then go all the way to the end and click OK, look what happens. All three components get affected, but we didn't want the second one. So you might think, okay, I create extrude cut for the first tower, then this time I do need to have a plane between these two to repeat that and take it from there on. No, you don't need that, because let's just go back. There is another option that I want to talk to you about when you're working with more than one solid body, which is this case. We have three. You have this extra section in your property manager called feature scope. On default, it's set to automatic select, but unselected, it's never smart. And select the components that you want to be affected. That is the first one and the third one, and we don't want the second one to be affected. So when I click OK, I get the hole on the first component and the third component, and the second one is untouched. So there is no need to create a new plane there either. I hope you got the importance of when and when not to create a new plane. Guys, hit the like button if any of these information were new to you. I'm planning to redo some of my old videos because I see a lot of you still are dabbling on those topics, and I know that based on the comments you leave. So if you really want to master that, pay close attention to the videos that I'm putting out there and watch them to the end. I try to fit as much information as possible into these videos and make them as short as possible, because you just came here to learn something and go on about doing your project. But if you are truly lost and you don't know how to master SolidWorks, check my course out. The link is in the description below, and hands down, this is the best course out there. It's not me only saying it. I might be biased. I am biased, but the public reviews, all 140 something 5 stars, don't lie to you. So go check that course out. The link is in the description below if you really want to know what step to take and what next and what next and what next, and not all the way to the end without skipping any detail. The tiniest details are also in that course at the right position for not confusing you. All right, I'm Aryan, and again, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because a lot of good contents are coming weekly and you can benefit from them. I'll hope to see you soon. Take care.